and welcome back everyone to my channel. Now today is the day when Season 1 is going to launch. A lot of you might have seen already the patch notes that are a little bit disappointing in my opinion. It feels like they try to delete all the fun stuff from the game to make it even harder and less enjoyable. At least that's how it feels for me. However, I a little bit hope that the new added legendary sockets and items are more or less covering the nerfs that we have received. Overall, Druid has received kind of big nerf in terms of the Grizzly Rage skill. The Grizzly Rage skill is mainly used for builds that are making use of the Tempest Raw helmet. However, that's good news. In the build that I want to show you today, which is the Human Tornado Druid, as I call it, does not even use Grizzly Rage, and it doesn't even need it. And it still performs very well. You can check out my older video that I have provided about that build. You can check out my other video, which you will see now on the upper right corner. Please feel free to check also this guide. Basically, I tried to explain a little bit more about why it is performing well without Tempest Raw and so on. Today, I just want to give you a quick leveling guide for Season 1. So basically, what to go with as the first levels, where to put your skill points, what are the Paragon boards looking, and also what aspects and gear is used to have the best experience when using my build. So first of all, we put in 1 point into Storm Strike, followed up by Enhanced Storm Strike and Fierce Storm Strike. The reason why we took Fierce Storm Strike is just that we have a chance to make the enemies vulnerable. Even though vulnerable has been nerfed now with the current patch, it still makes a lot more damage than not having enemies vulnerable. So that is something that you really want and do not want to miss out. The reason is why we only put 1 point into Storm Strike, because it is not our main damage skill. It just helps us with mainly defense and also getting the chance of having vulnerable enemies around us. Because you see that the damage is chaining to up to 3 surrounding enemies, as mentioned, the damage isn't really a thing for us, but we have the chance to make them vulnerable with the spell, up to 3 or 4 enemies around us, and also we get 15% damage reduction for 3 seconds. So basically that is something that you want to press at least once every 3 seconds, just to have this vulnerable damage and as well the damage reduction active as much as you can. Next, when we come here, of course, we want to max out Tornado, which is our main damage spell. Basically follow up by Enhanced Tornado, and then we take Raging Tornado, which means that enemies hit with Tornado have a 10% chance to become vulnerable for 3 seconds, which will play into our already available vulnerable damage chance from Storm Strike. Tornado is, in my opinion, one of the strongest spells in the whole game. It is a little bit less spammy like Stormclaw or maybe Shred, but however it has such a high amount of damage to put out, and if you saw it in the current patch notes, the damage of Tornado gets buffed further. So we receive a buff with this build, definitely. At the end I will a little bit explain again why we do not have much of a nerf besides all the general damage affix nerfs, but let's just go through the whole skill first. We put 1 point into Heart of the Wild, mainly to come to Wild Impulses and Abundance. Wild Impulses means that we have to spend more spirit on our spells. However, we deal 50% increased damage, which is a lot. And also basic skills generate 80% more spirit. Since we are using Storm Strike every 3 seconds, we anyway have to use it, and it makes sense that we create even more spirit with this combination, which helps out a lot. We also take Predatory Instinct. Critical strike chance against close enemies is increased by 6%. That's a big damage buff, especially if you are low on crit chance. So take this with you. Coming to the defense section, we want to take Earthen Bulwark. Earthen Bulwark is a very nice defensive layer, which gives you a barrier absorbing up to 45% of your life. We also are unstoppable while active, and we also get fortified up to 80% of our base life, which basically means we kind of boost our effective life pool a lot with this spell. I mainly use it when I need to get out of bad situations, but we also can use it to boost our damage, because a little bit lower in our skill tree, we will make use of combining storm skills and earth skills. So that means our tornado is dealing a lot more damage if we cast it after we have used an earth skill like Earthen Bulwark, for example, which is an earth skill. So very often when I go into a large pack with a lot of elites and big monsters with high life pools, I cast Earthen Bulwark to initiate the fight, immediately followed up by tornadoes, and they shred through everything. You can check out my build video, as mentioned, that I have on my channel about the human tornado druid. So you get a better understanding how it feels, how it plays. As mentioned today, I just want to give you a quick overview about how to level this build and what to take on aspects. Now we come here and we take Poison Creeper, and we take the enhanced Poison Creeper to make the immobilize duration 1 second longer. Now, why I'm taking Poison Creeper, the reason is, first, you have a very high CC, which is basically immobilizing everything around you for 2 seconds. With this spell, you get 1 second on top, so 3 seconds is a very long time. And you get poison on everyone that is affected. Also, you get a passive which creates a Poison Creeper, which is crawling around and attacking one specific target from time to time. That's a very good damage buff against bosses, especially, where you only have this one target, which is then always poisoned. But the way I do it, or the way I use it, is I go into a big pack, I pull everything together, immobilize it, make use of this huge buff from poison damage, which then gets compared later on here with Envenom. I'm pretty sure that you know already that Envenom is one of the best single damage boosts that you can get on your amulet. So you definitely want to find an amulet that has +3 of Envenom. So with +3 on Envenom, you basically could, and that's something that you definitely can think about, you could boost this to 60% additional critical strike damage to every poisoned enemy. Since we are on a very low cooldown with 20 seconds, which gets reduced with our items, with cooldown reduction and so on, we have Poison Creeper ready quite often. So basically for me, it feels like I have it ready every time I go into a big pack, which is definitely enough because I will not use it on like 2 or 3 small mobs. I only use Poison Creeper when I feel like either I'm in danger to get out basically of the situation, or if I pull up a lot of enemies, I immobilize them, make them poisoned, and then I spam my tornadoes as much as I can to shred with the help of Envenom through everything. It is just crazy. You can check the damage that I put out without a Tempest Roar. I can only say it again, we are playing completely without Tempest Roar. We played completely without any unique. So basically we use one unique, but you don't need it actually. So that's why I tell it. And we do not even need the ultimate, which gets or has been nerfed a lot. So basically this is a very, very seasoned, beginner-friendly guide, in my opinion, because you really only take what you get and you are happy. So what you can do is, instead of putting through points into Nature's Reach, you could also later on put in more points into Venom. So that is something that you can always do. As mentioned, with your amulet, you will go up to 60% additional critical strike damage. It is really a big damage boost. So make sure that you have that on your amulet. I would even go that far that I say, if you have very, very bad stats on your amulet, but you have a +3 venom on it, just use it. It's so much damage that you will get from this one stat. Okay, so basically, just as a summarize, Poison Creeper is our big damage booster in situations where you have a very clustered map pack on your screen, or you can use it to get out of bad situations because you stun everything for 3 seconds. Then we take Hurricane, which is basically a standard spell in almost all Druid builds. It's used to slow around surrounding enemies and to also make them vulnerable. Then we take 3 points into Elemental Exposure, which will get our Storm skills have a chance to a 10% chance to make enemies vulnerable for 3 seconds, which is in addition very good with our Tornado and our Storm Strike, which are already have it, or which already have an inbuilt vulnerable lucky hit chance. Then we have the Endless Tempest, increase the duration of Hurricane and Cataclysm by 15%. It helps a lot, as I mentioned, to slow enemies, and since we deal more damage to slowed enemies, to CC'd enemies with our items and with our skill tree, we basically just benefit from this additional duration. So here I already said we take 1 point into Neurotoxin. Poisoned enemies are slowed just to get to the Venom. Poisoned enemies are slowed means whenever we are using Poison Creeper, which immobilizes and slows enemies, we also make use of the additional vulnerable chance. Also, I take Trample just as another get out of bad situations spells because it makes you unstoppable and is also a nice traveling skill. It's not used for anything like dealing damage or something like that. For me, it's just another layer of defensive because, as I mentioned, we are not using the Crystal Rage, which is granting us a big amount of unstoppable time. So we need to find a solution for that, and the compensation for that. We have Evan Bulwark and we also have Trample, so we have 2 skills that help us to get out of CC whenever we need, and that's totally fine for me, at least most of the time. Then we take 3 points into Defiance, 3 in Circle of Life and 3 in Resonance. Circle of Life, nature skills deal 12% increased damage to elites, which is very nice. Nature magic skills that consume spirit heal you for 3% of your maximum life. Since we are spamming Tornado, we always have this up. Really nice damage, defensive boost. Nature magic skill deals 6% increased damage. Triple this bonus if an Earth skill is the next skill cast after a Storm skill, or a Storm skill is the next skill cast after an Earth skill. That is what I mentioned earlier. Sometimes, when I know I go into a big pack, what I do is I go in, use Poison Creeper, use Earthen Bulwark to have an Earth skill activated, and then I immediately spam Tornado to make use of this 6% or tripled with 18% increased damage against the enemies, which is a very nice damage boost. Then we take some defensive notes. We take defensive posture, increase the amount of fortify you gain. We take nature's resolve, chance to 50% chance when struck to fortify you for 4% base life, which is also very nice since we do not have crystal rage and sometimes we get CC'd, so we get an additional base life up to 4%. And then we have unrestrained, which reduces the duration of control impairing effects. Triple this effect while you have fortify. Since we are almost always on fortify, this is also a very nice defensive layer which gets us a lot faster out of CC. Our ultimate finally is the Perfect Storm. The Storm skills that you cast can't run Spirit and deal 50% increased damage when you damage a vulnerable, immobilized, or slowed enemy. So again, this is basically something that we definitely want to use when we play Tornado. And once more, just to summarize about the skill tree, we do not take Crystal Rage and we do not use Tempest Raw. So summarizing this up, this skill build will deal a high amount of damage, as you can see in my build guide video that I have explained on my channel. and it is completely Season 1 friendly. You do not need any Unix at all. There are Unix, of course, especially one that helps a lot in generating more resources, but that is not mandatory. It's just nice to have, or the min-max version maybe of this human tornado Druid. So coming over to the gears and skills. First of all, our gems are green in weapon, blue in armor for damage reduction while fortified, which, as I mentioned, we are normally always. We have then jewelry, armor, so that's clear. But however, this might be exchanged with the new Season 1 jewels, so just keep this in mind. The helmet, we take Aspect of Might, basic skills count 20% damage reduction. This is very nice in addition to our Storm Strike damage reduction that we already have. So that's something we want to use anyway every 3 seconds. So that means every 3 seconds we get 50% reduced damage from Storm Strike. Additionally, the 20% damage reduction from Aspect of the Might. So that's always up. If you play it right, you always have 35% damage reduction uptime, always. Aspect of Mending Stone, the duration of Earthen Bulwark is increased by 6 seconds. In addition, killing an enemy with Earth skills replenishes X of your active Earthen Bulwark's barrier. So this also just allows us to have Earthen Bulwark up a little bit longer. You can exchange this to something else if you wish. That's just something that I've used and that felt really nice. So feel free to mix up everything here. It's just my recommendation, but it's not in stone that you have to use it. Then on our gloves, we want basic skills grant additional attack speed. That's really nice. As mentioned, since we are attacking every 3 seconds at least with our Storm Strike, we always have up to 30% additional attack speed, which will also affect our cast time on Tornado, which makes it much more smooth. Aspect of the Disobedience, sorry, I don't know how to spell this one. You gain up to 50% increased armor for 4 seconds when you deal any form of damage, stacking up to 30%. Again, another very nice defense flavor. We really do not have to boost our damage pretty much besides what we already have in our skills. So we want to have some good defensive to be able to push into a higher content. Now you see I have Penitent Griefs. That's the unique that I enjoyed the most because you leave behind Trail of Frost, which chills enemies, and chills is a form of slow and CC. And as you saw earlier, when we are combining this with our damage booster from the skill tree, everything that is CC'd basically receives more damage. And this has a very nice a nice link to the aspect of the Umbral, because it restores up to 4% of your primary resource when you crowd control an enemy. Now, imagine what these boots are doing. Basically, you CC everything around you, always, every time. Every time anyone is walking into your trail of frost, basically it's getting CC'd. Besides that, you have the poison, which is stunning. You have the hurricane, which is slowing, same as the tornado. So basically you are CCing everything around you 100% of the time, as long as you are in a fight. So that means Aspect of the Umbral will, even with only like 2 restoring of primary resource, it will basically lets your spirit regeneration explode. You see this in my video. As long as I'm playing against some enemies, I'm always ready to use my tornado. So it's insane. The combination of the Aspect of Umbral and Penitent Griefs is huge. On our weapon, we want Tornado will seek up to 3 targets. This is going up much higher. You can have up to 6 targets, I think, was the highest one I saw up to now. So basically that is a very, very nice thing, and it makes it much more smooth. So you want Storm Chaser's aspect as soon as you can, especially while leveling. I will give you some information about how to level efficient with Tornado a little bit later. On our amulet, your core skills deal up to 40% increased damage based on the amount of fortify, which is also very nice since we are always fortified. Accelerating aspect, critical strikes with core skills increase your attack speed by 25%. There is not really much else that you could use with a tornado build, so additional attack speed combining 25% with the up to 30% means around 50% additional attack speed, so you really will notice that when everything ticks in and you get this high amount of tornadoes flying around, even if you are lucky and you spawn 2 tornadoes and so on. It's really nice, it feels very good, and it's just destroying everything combined with the Storm Chasers aspect. Now coming to the Spirit Boons, we are taking a Wariness, which takes 10% reduced damage from elites. We gain 10% attack speed. We gain 30% critical strike damage, 50% of your life as fortified when you use a defensive skill, which basically means whenever we use Earthen Bulwark. And since we are not shapeshifting into our werewolf form or werebear form, we quite do not have much use of any of these other spirit boons, so I just take every 20th skill will cause your next earth skill to overpower, which means that the explosions of the Earthen Bulwark will just be overpowered. However, this has no influence on our damage, on our gameplay. It's just we have nothing else here to choose from. That's all. On our helm, we want cooldown reduction, max life. On our gloves, we want as high of rolls for ranks of additional tornado, which boosts our damage a lot. You can, for example, have +4 or something like that. On our amulet, as I mentioned, we want definitely ranks of the Envenom passive. At the best, you can have, I think, +3. I'm not sure if 4 is also a thing. I think it's only up to 3 ranks. So that's the main target for the amulet, even though if the other sets are not so good, make sure you have this in your pocket and ready to use. That's about the gear, the skill tree. Now we have the Paragon board. I will not go into detail about the Paragon board a lot because it will increase the length of the video by like 30 minutes, but you have the board ready to be used here in my guide. Everything you need is shown up, which glyph to use and so on. Basically, the way how we do it is we start here, go up to the Ancestral Guidance. Next, we go up to Thunderstruck board. Then we go to the Constricting Tendrils board. We go down to the Lust of Carnage. And from there, you have to see we have 26 points left at the end of the day, and you can spend them wherever you want. So basically, I think when you are at this point, you have a better feeling of what you need and what you not need, where you need more stats or not. So that's something that you can finish off then in the late game. Yes, when you go to the showcase here in my guide, you also see that video that I have provided earlier. Also, there's another video guide about explaining everything. I just wanted to give you a heads up for the coming season start. So I highly recommend, if you want to play Druid, go with the Human Tornado Druid without Tempest Raw. Use whatever you have and have a lot of fun. It's so strong. Believe me, it's really, really strong, and it is almost unaffected by the buffs. By the nerfs, besides the general damage affix nerfs that we have received, that everyone has received basically. But everything else in terms of druids, we just got buffed because the damage of the tornado skill got buffed, and we are unaffected by the ultimate nerf as we don't use it anyways. So in my opinion, this is a very, very solid build to start with. I hope you enjoy it. I would highly appreciate if you click the like and subscribe button, follow my channel for new content throughout the season 1 and the upcoming seasons. And I thank you very much. Have a good start in the season 1. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.